All right, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting rational expressions. So just like when we're adding and subtracting fractions, we have to have a common denominator first. So when we were simplifying, we found all those factored expressions. We're going to do the same thing, but right now what we're going to do is we're just going to factor the denominators. All right? So here, my first one, I have an addition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor my denominators real quick. So I have x minus 1 plus 2x minus 1 over, I'm going to factor this. X minus 2, x minus 1. Now, when I'm looking at my common denominator, what I want to do is I want to have all the unique pieces in there. So I have to have the same values and then the powers attached to that, so the highest power. So here, this has an x minus 1, this has an x minus 1 and an x minus 2. And so I have to have all the pieces, all the different pieces here. So I'm missing an x minus 2 in this first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x minus 2. And so that now I have a common denominator. Now once I have my common denominator, I should come out here and put my domain restrictions. So what are the values that x cannot be? So here I look at x cannot be 1 or positive 2. That gives me my domain restrictions. Now I can go ahead and simplify my top, see if it factors and reduces. So I'm going to distribute my x here. So this gives me x squared minus 2x minus 1, plus 2x minus 1 all over x minus 1, x minus 2. Now if you notice here, I have a negative 2x and a positive 2x. So that's going to simplify to x squared minus 1. Now I'm not done, because I need to factor that top part if it's factorable. In this case it is, so I have x plus 1, x minus 1, over x minus 1, and x minus 2. If there's anything in common, I want to factor those out or cancel them out. Here, these are canceled out. So my final answer is x plus 1 over x minus 2. Okay, so that's adding. We're going to do the exact same thing with subtraction. I'm going to find that common denominator, so I'm going to start by factoring everything, and I'm going to then subtract it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and factor here. I have x plus 2. I factor out here an x, so this becomes x minus 2 minus x plus 2. The only thing that can factor out here is a 2. So I'm going to factor that 2 out. Okay. Now I have to have my everything that is unique in the denominator has to be there. So I have an x and an x minus 2. Here I have a 2 and an x minus 2. So my common denominator is going to be 2 times x minus 2. So right here, I'm missing a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply top and bottom by 2. This is missing an x. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by an x. Okay. And now I'm going to distribute and simplify. Okay. Fix this real quick. So this gives me 2x plus 4 minus x squared minus 2x all over 2x times x minus 2. Now, when I simplify this, I end up with negative x squared plus 4 over 2x times x minus 2. Okay? I want to make sure I talk about my domain restrictions again. So I want to have the values that are going to make my denominator 0. So what value makes x 0? Well, it's 0. What makes this 0? It's positive 2. So there's my domain restrictions. Now, the top actually factors. So I'm going to start by factoring out a -1 here. And this actually factors into x plus 2 and x minus 2. And here you can see that the x minus 2's cancel out, so I get minus x plus 2 over 2x. You could distribute your negative sign in there. The last thing we're going to talk about is complex fractions. Complex fractions are fractions inside of a fraction. So to simplify this, what we're going to do is we're going to work this in two parts. We're going to work it into a numerator and a denominator. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a common denominator. Well, the common denominator between x and y is xy. All right? So I'm going to multiply top and bottom here by y. So this gives me y. This is xy plus, here I have x squared over xy. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my bottom here. My common denominator is y. So I'm going to multiply this one by y over y. Okay, so now I'm going to come through here. I should talk about my domain restrictions. So here x cannot equal, well, if it's 0, I would have a problem. Y cannot equal 0 also. So I'm just going to simplify my top and bottom. So this gives me y plus x squared over xy. This gives me 1 plus y over y. Now I have fraction over fraction, so I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Y plus x squared over xy times y over 1 plus x. Cancel out my y's. I get y plus x squared over x times 1 plus y. So if you have a complex fraction, you have to simplify the top, you have to simplify the bottom. You need to make sure you have domain restrictions. I should put my domain restriction here now. What value of y is going to make this 0? -1. That's adding and subtracting fractions.